How many times have you ever seen a video like this on Facebook? I don't know if it's going to play. Okay, anyways. And how many times after watching that video have you said, I wish I could make that, or that looks really good? Or perhaps your baking skills are more on this level. That was certainly my skill level when I began baking in culinary arts class in high school. For 4 years, I spent time in culinary arts learning how to not only bake, but cook as well. So 2 years ago, my 9-year-old little brother opened up a restaurant at my grandparents' house, and I was privileged enough to be hired for free as his baker. So I've had lots of experiences over the past 2 years making many different desserts, but my favorite to make and my brother's favorite to eat is homemade brownies. Today I'm going to share with you the ingredients and directions for making your own homemade brownies. This recipe comes from allrecipes.com and is as follows. The ingredients you will need are a half a cup of butter, 1 cup of sugar, 2 eggs, 1 teaspoon of vanilla, a third a cup of cocoa powder, a half a cup of all-purpose flour, and a fourth a teaspoon of salt. You'll also need an 8x8 baking pan, and I line my baking sheet with parchment paper, something that I learned in culinary arts class. It keeps your brownies from sticking to the pan and allows you to cut them easier. The directions are: preheat oven to 350 degrees, melt a half a cup of butter in a saucepan, remove from heat and stir in sugar, eggs, and vanilla. Beat in cocoa powder, flour, salt, and baking powder. Spread batter in pan and bake for 25 to 30 minutes. Your first step is to gather the ingredients. You'll need a half a cup of butter, which is the equivalent of 1 stick, sugar, eggs, vanilla, extract, cocoa powder, all-purpose flour, parchment paper, and an 8x8 pan. Next, you'll need to preheat your oven to 350 degrees. And while your oven is preheating, you can melt the butter in a saucepan, or you can also melt it in the microwave. And after the butter has cooled, you can add it into a bowl and add your sugar, eggs, and vanilla. So for step 3, you need to make sure that you stir it. Don't use a mixer for that. That is a trick also learned in culinary arts class. And you can also use a rubber spatula if you have that to stir. Step 4, beat in cocoa powder, flour, salt, and baking powder. You will need a mixer to beat in your ingredients. Step 5 is to spread the batter into the pan, and if you don't have parchment paper, you can grease the pan with butter and flour it to keep your brownies from sticking to the pan. And step 6 is to bake your brownies in the preheated oven for 25 to 30 minutes. So my brownies took about 25 minutes. It's important that you don't overcook the brownies, so watch them once it hits that 25 mark until you reach the 30-minute mark. Now that you have learned the ingredients and directions for making homemade brownies, I encourage you to try to make your own.